Hello, and welcome to Textual Tension. I am your co-host Rachel, and every other week I hop in here and just kind of quickly go over all the fun little housekeeping stuff, as well as any updates that might be happening. So hey, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you're new, hello. Welcome to your first episode. I hope you enjoy it. If you aren't new, welcome back. We love you. I mean, we love you if you're new also, but you'll get it. It's fine. I'm spiraling. Let's just get into the updates. First, and I would say most important, we have a new patron. Hey, Rachel. Great name, if I can just say so myself. Fantastic. Love what you're doing. Wonderful. And thank you. Thank you so much for your support. We love you. You are wonderful. And welcome to the family. I'm so excited that you're here. And if you, yes, you, would like to become a supporter of us on Patreon and get access to all sorts of fun new things, you can head on over to patreon.com/textualtension and check that out. There's all kinds of neat stuff over there. And we would love it if you would join our little family. You can also find us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Textual Tension Pod, as well as YouTube, where we have started uploading our episodes as well. We have a Discord. We would love to hear from you. We talk all things books, as well as other things like pets and food and art stuff, and it's just a good time. Sometimes I do random art streams to hang out with people, and it's a blast. So you can head on over to that. The link is in our Instagram bio. And we don't often put this disclaimer on episodes, but this one definitely warrants it. Here at Textual Tension, we are expressing our opinions. They are entirely our opinions, and we do our best to justify our opinions. Not just say something and scream it as loud as we can, but to say something and then explain to the best of our ability why we feel that way. This book might be a little bit divisive, which is to say, a lot of people like this book. It's very popular. So as we do some of the more popular ones, I just want to remind everyone that this is our opinion, and as always, we would love it if it sparked discussion. But the caveat to that being, it has to be actual discussion, not yelling. So we are always willing to discuss our opinions in detail, as well as your opinions in detail. I would absolutely love to have that discussion. But we kindly request that discussions are just that, discussions, not just yelling at us or at others for their opinions. We have a very welcoming and cozy, wonderful community that we've built, especially over on the Discord, where I imagine a lot of this conversation will be happening. So, please respect that. We would really appreciate it if this happens to be a topic that you have strong opinions on. That said, it's a great episode. It's very fun. So I hope that y'all will listen, because it's a good one. It's good. It's nice. I like it. All right. With that out of the way, I think it's time for some romance novel wisdom. If you're new here, romance novel wisdom is just a little something that I give you, yes, you, as a thank you for listening through all of that intro goop. So today I have for you a haiku. Oh, great Lord Hades, about how you met your wife. Hey man, what the fuck? I love haikus. Truly an underappreciated form of poetry. You don't even have to rhyme stuff. Oh, man, y'all. Well, again, thank you so much for listening. This is a fun episode that I'm sure will get us roasted on book-tok, so it's gonna be a good one. So without further ado, here is episode 113. Brought to you by Bass Pro Shop.
Oh, love, tearing me apart from the inside out so I can see myself from the inside.
Hello, and welcome to Textual Tension, a love-hate relationship with romance novels. I am your co-host, Margie.
And I'm your co-host, Rachel.
Every other week, one of us reads and summarizes a romance novel for the other unsuspecting co-host. This week, that co-host is Rachel.
It's me. I'm listening.
You, though. And together, we unpack what the fuck just happened.
Hey. Y'all, it's going to be a weird one. I just took a steroid.
You say that every episode.
Yeah, but this time it's a chemically induced weird one. I'm a little jittery. It's fun.
I'm like... fine. I'm just vibing. I don't know. All right. So
vibing
I'm just gonna
good.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even have anything much to banter about. I'm trying to think.
2 in a row. Happy St. Patrick's Day as
Happy
we are
St.
recording
Patrick's
this.
Day.
I see
There
you're
you
wearing
go.
green.
I am, and it says Irish on it. I didn't even need to do that.
I honestly, after this, might go get myself a bottle of Irish whiskey because that sounds delicious.
That does sound good.
You know what? I know it's been a year.
So I was thinking when I was thinking about my next book, I was like, well, you know, like springtime is coming around, so maybe I could do something that relates to spring. How am I going to fit that in? And then I remembered book-tok. And book-tok, unfortunately, book-tok inspired me. I found a book that has been trending over book-tok for, I don't even know how long at this point. I've definitely heard it a while back, but I was finally like, oh, it's the perfect time of year because, and also I was on vacation, so I was like, let's read some good smut.
Yeah.
And I found this book, and that's kind of my story, and I'm sticking to it. Rachel, I'm going to send it to you. I think that you're going to have a lot of opinions on it, and I have a very spicy opinion on it that I think is going to make some people very unhappy.
I've heard of this
Yes.
book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is A Touch of Darkness, which is a Hades x Persephone, book 1. So my understanding, if I remember, is it's a retelling of Hades and Persephone by Scarlett St. Clair, which is a great name. Can I just say?
It's a great name.
Great name. And honestly, I adore this cover.
The cover is very cool.
It's
the cover
so cool. It has like this gold filigree kind of like all over it, like the swirly kind of plant like you'd imagine in like a Baroque kind of, design.
Right.
And then there is a flower of some kind, I think, behind it.
Yes.
That's like these purples
Perhaps
and reds and
narcissus.
Interesting. Bringing in some other mythology, I see. And honestly, and it's all on like a sort of like black and red kind of background, and it's really cool.
It looks very cool. It's visually appealing. It doesn't reveal much about the story other than that it's a Hades and Persephone retelling.
It feels like what you would see. It doesn't scream romance novel.
No,
to me screams just like fiction.
Again, yes. And I am going to go back to this because I am trash, but it does, again, remind me of like how Twilight like captured your eye and your attention when you first saw it. And you didn't necessarily think that Twilight was going to be a romance novel either until you read the back.
Yeah, I could see that. I think that it feels... probably an unpopular opinion to all of our twihards out there. It feels more sophisticated than Twilight does.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's honestly, though, it is just a very well-designed cover. I really like this cover.
Yeah. It's very cool. Cool. Very, very simple and elegant, I would say. So, and then there's a little something, there should be a little something written on the top. Do you want to read what that says?
You read it because I can't zoom in very well right now.
So you can't zoom in. Okay. So at the top of it, it says, as she struggles to sow the seeds of her freedom, love for the god of the dead grows, and it's forbidden.
Okay. I lied. Now it screams romance novel.
Yeah, it's very,
if it didn't have that, I would have said, it's fiction.
Before you read the back of the book, I actually wanted to tell the original story of Hades, Persephone, and Demeter.
Ooh,
just really quick. Do a quick, because I don't know if everyone knows it, but So the easiest story to tell, I'm going to kind of go in the middle of detail, is Hades sees Persephone just one day, like she is frolicking. She is the goddess of spring. Hades is the god of the underworld. And for whatever reason, he is in the mortal realm. And Demeter is Persephone's mother, and Demeter is the goddess of the harvest, I think.
Yes. Yep. She's the goddess of the harvest.
Goddess of the harvest. And Demeter's like raising her child, her little Cora, and Hades sees her one day and then goes to Zeus and says, I want that.
I want that.
I want that in my kingdom. I have been lonely for a very long time. And Zeus is pretty much like, all right, bro, we'll make this work. So one day, Persephone is with her naiad friends. They're all playing together. And she spots a flower in a valley that looks very different from all the other flowers. But she traipses off by herself. The earth opens up. Hades appears, grabs her, and drags Persephone to the underworld. Mm-hmm. And that is kind of the beginning of the story.
Yeah, it's a totally legitimate way to get a wife, right?
Exactly. Just steal one. You steal one. And Demeter at first doesn't even know where her daughter is. Finally, Helios, the sun god, is like, hey, this is what happened. Like, she was literally dragged into the underworld. So Demeter goes to Zeus and is like, I am not letting anyone eat until my daughter is returned to me.
Bitch, you ain't getting crops till I get my baby girl.
No. So Zeus is like facing, and also the other gods are like, hey, like all of our people are angry. You've got to figure this out. You can't just let Hades keep Persephone. Mm-hmm. So Zeus is eventually like, okay, fine. Like, I'm sorry, bro, but you've got to give her back. And Zeus sends Hermes to go and get Persephone out of the underworld. And this is where I struggle a bit with the story, because there are two interpretations of what happens next. Number one, when Persephone is down there with Hades and Hermes comes, Hades tricks her into eating 4 pomegranate seeds. Mm-hmm. Now that Persephone has eaten 4 pomegranate seeds, she is bound to the underworld. She has to spend at least some time there.
4 months.
Like that. Yeah, 4 months out of the year. Basically winter time. Yeah. She has to spend in the underworld. But the tricky thing that I struggle with this story, and like I think that some people have different interpretations of, is whether Persephone ate those seeds herself or whether she was tricked into doing it. Mm-hmm. Because that's going to, like, if it's a thing of like, well, she doesn't want to go back, but she's being forced to, then she would just eat the seeds herself so she could at least spend some time with Hades, her now husband. If Hades tricked her into doing it, then she's spending 4 months out of the year in a place that she absolutely hates and doesn't really want to be queen of the underworld. The end of the story is that, you know, she's basically like spending some time with her mom, some time with Hades as the queen of the underworld, and then her alter ego is the goddess of spring. Mm-hmm. So that is the original story of Hades and Persephone passed down to us through mythology. Why don't you read the back cover?
Yeah.
Of A Touch of Darkness. And we will get into the story and we can compare and contrast at the end of when I finish telling the story of A Touch of Darkness.
Yeah. Persephone is the goddess of spring in title only. Since she was a little girl, flowers have only shriveled at her touch. Ooh. After moving to New Athens, she hoped to lead an unassuming life disguised as a mortal journalist. All of that changes when she sits down in a forbidden nightclub to play a hand of cards with a hypnotic and mysterious stranger. Hades, god of the dead, has built a gambling empire in the mortal world, and his favorite bets are rumored to be impossible. But nothing has ever intrigued him as much as the goddess offering him a bargain he can't resist. After her encounter with Hades, Persephone finds herself in a contract with the god of the dead, and his terms are impossible. Persephone must create life in the underworld or lose her freedom forever. The bet does more than expose Persephone's failure as a goddess. However, as she struggles to sow the seeds of her freedom, love for the god of the dead grows, a love that is both captivating and forbidden. Now that's interesting.
Yeah.
I always have mixed feelings on... I love a good mythology retelling. Mythology, fairy tale retelling, all that jazz. I love a good retelling. I'm always torn when they use the original characters, though. Like, in their original form, almost. Like, their names, their, you know, like, all that kind of jazz. Like, I love a reskinning, I'm always, I don't know. It has to be done very well.
Right. Well, let's get into it, shall we? And let's talk about the triggers that I absolutely wrote down.
Yeah, definitely.
I absolutely remembered to write down. Drugging. I mean, I would call emotional abuse by a parent.
Yeah. That tracks for Demeter, if I'm assuming that's where we're going with that.
A cocaine powder dusting of sexual assault.
Delightful.
Blackmail. I think that's it.
Just a little amuse-bouche.
Yeah,
of triggers.
just a little,
Nothing crazy.
Nothing,
just a little sampler.
Nothing too, insane.
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. Okay. And then I'll describe what they look like. I don't know. He's like, Hades is like 6.5 feet tall with
Tall,
dark
dark, and handsome.
obsidian eyes. I will say he's tall, dark, and handsome, literally.
Uh-huh.
He does have a man bun, but he can pull it off. So
Okay, I like
we
a
do
man bun.
love a man bun. If you
am
can
a
pull
man
off,
bun fan.
If you can pull off a man bun,
I even like
yummy.
the little onion sprout. I'm a fan of the little tiny onion sprout that some guys get.
I'm not a fan of the onion sprout. You got to have that like thick, dark, curly hair. Ugh, love it. So, and he's usually wearing like sexy suits and stuff like that.
Naturally.
Persephone is blonde, pale. She has bottle green eyes.
Okay.
Because of like goddess magic.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's just naturally stunning, of course. But most people in her world don't know that she's a goddess, and she's trying to keep it that way. Because most of the gods, she's never really met any of the other gods or goddesses. Like her mom has kept her away from that. And mortals don't know that she even exists. So, and so she wears what's called a glamour so that they can't really tell that she's a goddess. Also, gods and goddesses in this world have horns.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So there you go.
Cool.
All right. She is, at the beginning of this book, Persephone is sitting at a coffee shop. She's chilling. She's doing some homework. And her friend, Lexa, comes in.
Is she a student?
She's a student. Yes, she's a student at it's like Athens University or something, and she's studying journalism. So she really doesn't want to be.
She's a student at AU.
She really doesn't want to be. She really doesn't really want to be the goddess of spring. Also, she's not like everything that she touches. Every plant she touches dies.
That's unfortunate for a
Shrivels
goddess of
up
spring.
and dies for a goddess of spring. I'm like, why even bother calling her the goddess of spring?
Right.
Like she doesn't have any powers that signify springtime.
Maybe she has the powers of that infamous Ohio second winter that comes in and kills everything.
Or
the goddess of Ohio second winter.
Or maybe she's supposed to be the goddess of the underworld. I don't know, because she keeps killing everything. No. So Persephone's friend Lexa shows up at the coffee shop where she's working and says, guess what? I got tickets to Nevernight. Nevernight is Hades' nightclub.
All right.
And it takes years to get tickets to get in.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Lexa is like, my friend couldn't go, and he has 2 tickets, and let's go. Let's have fun. Like, this is an amazing opportunity. And Persephone is like, I can't. And Lexa's like, you can and you will, doing that like typical thing at the beginning of a story. Like, no, you have to go. No, I have to stay home and study, like that thing.
Yeah.
And Lexa finally convinces her, and Persephone's very not thrilled about it, mostly because she doesn't want her mom to find out. Her mom already is not happy that she's at university. Mm-hmm. Her mom is like, I don't understand why you aren't up in the, doing growing things with me. Why
aren't you part of this grow operation? Come on.
Yeah, why?
The family business.
The family business. Let's grow some weed and make some money, right?
Hell yeah.
And so she goes to this nightclub with her friend Lexa. They meet Adonis is there, and they meet. They've never met before. Adonis is like, ooh, cool, 2 pretty young girls. Like, let's all sit together and have drinks and whatever.
And it's Adonis, so are you going to say no?
So, yeah, he's gorgeous. He's stunning.
Yeah.
And so, but Persephone feels someone's eyes on her.
Oh, God.
She
they're
looks
gods.
up. And
we're going to assume it's because they're gods.
Tall, dark, and Hades looking above. But she doesn't know that he's tall, dark, and Hades.
Oh, I can imagine is there is some scene somewhere in SpongeBob where, like, his eyes, like, come out of his head and poke the person. And that
exactly.
is all I can imagine. It's just Hades' eyes have just extended out of his head and just meep meep.
Yeah. Well, she feels she feels an awooga. Well, that's the VIP section. She can't get into the VIP section of
course
Nevernight.
not.
No, don't even dream of that.
No.
Also, I can't remember if this is actually in the book, but I remember imagining this place as like a giant pyramid. So I think it is written that way. And all I can think of is the giant Bass Pro Shop pyramid that I think is in Las Vegas.
Is it Bass Pro Shop? Really?
I think so. Yeah, you should look it up. It is
Nevernight. Oh, a nightclub brought to you by Bass Pro Shop.
Bass Pro Shops.
Come for the drinks. Stay for the fishing rods.
Seriously. All right. So, Lexa goes. Yeah.
Do they have like a weird diorama near the escalators that's all like a bunch of taxidermied animals and like a tiny pond or something? I have to assume.
We have to assume. We have
this
to assume. Like really like the saddest pond and waterfall ever.
Yeah, and it's all just a little bit sad, but whatever, you know.
Whatever, you know. Lexa at one point goes off on her own. I think she goes to the bathroom, and you know how it is in a club. Like suddenly you're like, wait, where's my friend? Where did you go? Wait, I thought you just went to the bathroom. Cannot find her friend. So then she's like, she sees this door though, and there's someone standing in front of it who, spoiler alert, it's probably Medusa. Probably Medusa. Well, and she's like, I've got the secret passcode to the VIP lounge if you want it. And Persephone's like, sure. So she gets the secret passcode.
That wasn't Medusa. That was Eris in fucking disguise. Goddess of chaos.
Maybe. Well, and the passcode is Pathos. So.
All right. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sure.
So she goes up to the VIP lounge. People are kind of just chilling up there, drinking fancier drinks, I'm assuming, and playing card games. And being rich. And she's never played a card game before in her life. Like she doesn't, no gambling card games.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm assuming it's like poker. I would assume poker.
Exactly. Well, she sits
poker,
down
blackjack.
She sits down at a table and she's like, I'm just going to watch when Tall, Dark, and Hades.
Tall, Dark, and Hades.
Comes, and of course, she doesn't know that it's Hades yet. And he comes and sits next to her, and they start talking, and he's like, all right. He's not getting much out of her, but he's obviously very fascinated. He's like, all right, I'll make you a bet. I'll teach you how to play poker, and when I win, I get an answer out of you, and vice versa.
That feels not equal, sir.
No,
she's never played before.
Yeah, she's never played before. So pretty much what he gets out of her is that like that she has a complicated relationship with her mom, and they're like talking, and she is asking questions about Hades. Like, do you think that he feels this way? Do you think that he like, because in this world, Hades is very like negatively perceived.
Okay.
And she's kind of like, do you think like Hades, like, does it bother him that people don't like him that much? And like, why do you think he like makes all these deals with mortals and stuff like that? Even, do you think he wins all of them? And and Hades says, oh, darling, I always win something. And so then she knows it's like, this is Hades.
It's Hades.
No.
Okay, I guess you're at Hades nightclub. So like, it makes a little bit of sense to ask those questions to a random stranger that you've met.
Right.
But, I don't know. Hello, random stranger. Do you wonder about all of these things about this other person in our world?
Right. Well, and she has a very, I would call it distorted view of Hades, but I also think that's because she's has been very naive and sheltered.
Right.
That could be the case. But the way that she talks about him in this book, it's as if everybody in the world hates him. Like he has this really bad perception of him because so one thing that he does in this story that like is part of Hades' character is that he does make bets with mortals to like give them whatever their heart desires. And if they win, he gives it to them. But if they lose, like he sort of like can kind of get them to do whatever he wants. So
okay. I mean, he's your typical Lucifer type character.
Right, exactly. Even to the point of like he can make a bet with you, but you don't know what the consequences are if you lose until after it's all over. He's just like, you'll just owe me something.
Yeah, that's definitely a Lucifer type character.
And there's something along the lines of too of like, you know, I'll give you what you're looking for now, but in return, sometimes he says like, in return, you have to be sober or something like that. And so it's also kind of manipulative of like, and that'll come into play later. So,
okay.
Persephone leaves the club like immediately after that. Like, is like, oh no, feelings. Oh no, I can't flirt with the god of the dead. It is forbidden.
It is forbidden.
Reasons.
Why not?
Basically, because my mommy doesn't like him.
Hey, I will say, as a sheltered child that used to be that person, I get that.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
I was very much that, oh no, I can't do that. My mommy wouldn't like it kind of kid growing up.
Yes, I was too. So I do feel that. Yes. So Persephone wakes up the next morning and she's looking down at her wrist and she's like, what the frick is that? And it's a series of tiny dots on her wrist. And she tries to scrub it off. She tries everything she can to get it off. She cannot get off. And she's like, that motherfucker Hades left this on me.
Okay.
Yeah, because he had grabbed her wrist at one point before she left. So she puts a bracelet on it and she's like, I'm not going to let anyone else see this. And then her mom shows up for a visit and is like very judgmental and manipulative and reminds Persephone, hey, the only reason that you are here going to school like you want is because I'm letting you borrow my magic. So I can take this all away from you at any point.
What a bitch.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
So that same day that her mom comes and visits, Persephone actually has her first day at her internship at New Athens News.
Oh, exciting.
Conveniently, Adonis also works there.
Convenient.
Very convenient. That won't be a problem going forward at all. So
no, definitely not.
After work, Persephone goes back to Nevernight like immediately. So it's like early afternoon. It's not even like Nevernight time, I guess. Clubbing time, I guess.
Right.
And she bangs on the door and is like, let me in. I need to talk to you. Well, then she gets attacked by like the doorman, an ogre.
Naturally.
Natch.
Again,
and
makes
then
total sense.
Hades shows up at the door and gets all like, you hurt my girl. At the ogre. You hurt a woman and a goddess. Like, I'm gonna fuck you up later.
Fair. Maybe hire better ogres. I don't know.
Well, he actually says that he likes this particular ogre and that they're hard to find good ones. So he's like, I probably won't punish him that badly, Persephone, so don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they meet in his office and she's like, why is this thing on my wrist? Why is this here? And he's like, well, it's because you left the game early, which means that now you owe me something.
Sir.
Does not make sense at all.
That's not how poker works. I'm pretty sure you can fold at any time. Also, did you make that clear up front, sir?
No, why would
I doubt it.
No.
You can't. It's not a deal. If you're gonna be lawful evil or lawful whatever, then you still have to follow the rules. And one of those rules is making sure, like, you manipulate the rules. You don't just flat out not tell someone.
Well, and it's like also, I felt like it was kind of insinuated that he was saying that it was sort of her fault. He's like, hey, I don't make the rules, you know, like, I don't make the rules. Like, this just happened to you because you decided to leave the game. And I'm like, but like, you do make the rules. You absolutely make the rules.
I feel like this would be, I mean, so far, and again, this is probably going to be, we're probably going to get roasted on book-tok.
Yep, don't care.
It's fine. Like, so far, this is like very typical. It feels like an adult spin on a YA novel, quite frankly, right now, which is fine.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, I love that shit. But I feel like it would be so much more interesting if he did tell her the rules and loopholed it.
Yeah.
Like
right.
that
or did
would
something
be
basically did something clever.
Yeah,
You
because
know?
that would be, I feel like, so much more interesting than, and I think it would speak more about his character. Because like
Right.
this says that he doesn't play straight, right? He's dirty,
Right.
like he plays dirty. Whereas in the other one, it's like, oh no, he told you everything.
Right.
But like that feels so much more interesting to me.
And I went back, I was so kind of confused about this dynamic. I went back and read it a second time because I was like, I feel like this isn't clear. Like, I don't
Yeah.
understand why she is suddenly beholden to him. And even the second time, this was the best I could do to explain it. I don't think it was explained very well. But, so he's like, all right, now you owe me something. He explains, his bet for her, sort of, is that he wants her to create life in the underworld in 6 months. And if he doesn't, it's Ursula from Little Mermaid rules, you will belong to me. You will be a resident of the underworld. And if she does, like she gets the tattooed off, she gets her freedom again. So now poor Persephone is basically struggling 3 jobs. She's a full-time student, she's a reporter at the New Athens News, and she's beholden to Hades to create life in the underworld.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
But
I just,
so
in my brain, I'm like, but if you have an internship, you aren't actively taking classes. So at best 2 jobs.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. I think that she's still taking classes though, but maybe I'm wrong on that. But
Though.
I don't think that's a huge, thing to worry about in the story. But it's still a lot. It's still a lot going on. And also her soul is on the line. She has 6 months to save her soul, basically.
That's a little important. She obviously can't go to her mom about it.
No. Her mom is already also threatening, like, I'm going to take you back up and like you're just going to be back with me in the mortal world, like trying to grow things. And she's like, I don't want that. That's not what I want for my life and for myself. Like,
right. Gosh, Mom, you don't understand. It's not just a phase.
Yeah, exactly. But Persephone decides to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. She goes back to New Athens News and she's like, you know what? I've got it. I'm going to write a story about the god of the underworld. I'm going to write a story about Hades.
Fair. I mean, good thinking.
Adonis is like, well, we'll get into that. Adonis is like, nobody does that. He's extremely private. Nobody ever even talks to him. Also, this could turn out very poorly for you. And she's like, nah, I'm going to do it anyway.
She knows best. It's fine.
Okay, so let's talk about that, though, because that is very problematic. Because as a journalist, she shouldn't be writing stories about Hades or interacting with him at all. She is beholden to him.
That is
major
a conflict of interest.
Huge conflict of
right.
interest. Huge conflict of interest. So that's the first problem. Conflict of interest there. Number 2, she already has a very negative perception of him. Like, even before she met him, she had a negative perception of him because of these deals that he was making with mortals that were basically impossible tasks.
Yeah.
So
there's no way she can go into this unbiased.
Right, exactly. So she can't go into this unbiased. So, like, this is horrible journalism and all around a really bad idea.
Yeah.
But she drags Adonis to come with her to Nevernight, where it's Adonis Minth, which... Minth. Adonis, Minth, Hades, and Persephone in the room. And Persephone is just laying on Hades, like being like really aggressive and basically accuses him of taking advantage of people. And
bad journalism.
Very bad journalism.
Bad journalism.
Like, there's always there's that scene in movies where it's like, well, what about this? And the journalist gets like, is kind of, trying to pin the person into a
trump
corner.
Card.
Yeah, and it must have been like super awkward. Well, it wasn't super awkward for Minth and Adonis in the room because they can both feel the sexual tension energy like flying like her uterus throughout her body. Like,
can gods and goddesses like pick up on that?
Well, I mean, I think that any, like you
that's
you
fair.
Feel it sometimes. You're kind of like
That's
you're like
fair.
you're the third wheel and like hanging out with 3 people and 2 of them like each other and you're kind of like, okay, well,
yeah, that's fair.
I'm just gonna go off by myself because y'all are being weird.
Yeah, I've been in that situation. I get that.
Yes. Well, so eventually Hades actually knocks Adonis out, like uses magic to like knock him unconscious. And Hades is like, okay, like what's the real reason you're here? Like, what is your problem? And she's like, no, I'm doing this for work. And it's very awkward because it's a lot of the time in this book, she is just trying to make arguments. She is trying to like find fault with him. So Adonis wakes up, they go back to New Athens News.
And he doesn't question it?
Oh, he has a memory thing happen to him, so he's
fine.
fine.
Hades just knocked out a journalist.
Yeah, he
okay.
Yeah. So
all right, it's fine. You know what?
Hey,
in this book, being rich and being a god, same thing basically.
Same
when
thing,
you're rich, you can do that shit. When you're a god, you can too.
So Persephone and Adonis go back to the office, but she continues starting to write this article.
About what? Your hatred of a person? That's not how okay.
Well, and she's trying to like she gathers evidence from people who have made deals, or she tries to gather evidence from people who have made deals with Hades of like, oh, this is how horrible of a person he is. Let's just move on because otherwise we'll be here all day.
Okay.
It doesn't make any sense.
All right.
And soon after that, Hades and Persephone actually had already had a prearranged meeting, even before that little awkward interview thing, where he was going to show her the underworld and show her where she could try and create life. So that is the next. So she goes to Nevernight. I can't remember if it's that night, that same day, or the next day, but he's not in his office when she gets there. And so she is, messing around in his office.
For how difficult it is to get tickets to Nevernight, she goes there a lot.
She gets in there really easily.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes into his office and she finds a secret portal into the underworld.
Secret portal!
Oh! And so she walks through it. So she goes into the underworld by herself.
That seems like a good idea.
Yeah. So she starts wandering through the underworld.
Oh my god.
Have you ever just
She's like Lydia in the Beetlejuice musical.
Except way less scared. She's kind of, I don't even, like, looking back on it, I'm like, what was your goal? What was your end design? Like,
it wouldn't be my first reaction to seeing a portal in an abandoned room in the person that I know is the head of the
underworld. Well, it's not an abandoned room, and I think that she does know that it leads to the underworld. Like, she can put two and two together at least that far. But, so she goes... And then like her goal, she sees this like castle in a distance. And I think it is Hades' castle. It's like his, palace or whatever in the underworld. Yeah. And unfortunately at this point she's lost. So it's our only point of reference towards any sort of, help, safety, whatever. But it is surrounded by a large river.
Ooh, which one?
I don't remember. It's the one with the dead floating around in it. And they grab her.
The river Styx?
Probably. So they grab the dead in the water start to grab her and try to drown her, which I don't know how you drown a goddess. But don't worry, she's saved by Hermes. By Hermes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Hermes pulls her out of the water.
What's he doing there?
Chilling, sending messages and shit.
Sure. Okay. Okay, so he is Hermes ex machina. Got it. God.
So, but then Hermes kind of like, she's a little banged up. She hurt her rib. She hurt her shoulder. And, but Hermes is just like, this is all very funny. Hello, dear. How are you? Hey, you really need to like stop being the little goddess of sexual frustration. And she's like, I don't have any sexual frustration. And he's like, no, you're causing it in Hades.
This is your fault.
This is your fault. So then Hades shows up. He beats up Hermes a little bit for, I don't know, talking to his woman or something.
Okay.
You can tell how much I like this book because my deadpan delivery of like, I don't know, like this happens and that happens and it sucks and I really don't like this book. And we'll get into, I realized the reason why like yesterday, and I was like, oh,
Interesting. Okay.
So Hades takes her to the palace that she was actually trying to get to, and magically heals her wounds.
Sure.
And she sleeps in his bed because she needs to take a nap.
Only one bed in a fucking palace. Okay, sure, Jan.
He has
Jesus
black silk
Christ.
sheets.
Margie.
Great
What
for your
other
skin.
color would they be? What, you're not gonna walk into the palace of the god of the underworld and see him with fucking, like, white sheets on his bed? That's just bullshit.
I would argue that if he's a bro, they would be navy blue.
I could see red. Red or
Red,
black.
yeah.
I feel
Red
like
or
those are
black.
the...
Yeah.
Because even then, you'd walk into the palace of the god of the fucking dead and be like, really? Navy blue sheets? What?
But that's why I said he's a bro, and then he just has a poster on the wall for, like, Pulp Fiction or something.
Joe Rogan.
yes.
Yeah.
Red flag. All right.
Oh, God.
So
Bitch, you better run.
Hades shows her the underworld when she wakes back up, and they have not awkward, but just like a moment of, I'm so sorry that you got hurt in my territory. It won't happen again. I'm so angry about it. That kind of emotion feeling.
Oh, God. That's not even, and I totally get that right now I'm picking up on the fact that you didn't like the book, but that's not even good brooding. That's just awkward brooding. Like, we love a broody hero, but it's gotta be good brooding.
Hero.
Like, you were gonna take her down there anyway. Maybe you keep your appointments, man. You're a bad businessman.
Right. Keep your
You're a
appointments.
bad businessman, and she's a bad journalist.
Well, but Rachel, don't forget, he was already angry at her. So, like, that's probably why he was late.
Oh, yeah, that makes it okay.
Yeah, that makes it okay.
Yeah, this is her fault. I reiterate.
Yeah, exactly. He shows her the underworld where she can grow stuff, and then he backs her up against a wall and makes out with her.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm following it. I don't understand what the problem is.
Hold on. He only kissed her to bestow a favor. So, like, to basically bestow magic so she can get into the underworld whenever she wants.
Boy, that would be the most awkward hiring process ever. Hello? Welcome to the underworld. The commute really isn't that bad, but if you'll just come over here real quick. You gotta make out with the god of the underworld.
It's like they give you a key card in HR when you join a company.
Excuse me, Mr. Hades, if you could come over here real quick. All right, now kiss. All right, and welcome aboard.
Hades, you don't need to use that much tongue. It can just be a peck, okay?
It's good to be the king.
Okay, so soon Persephone is planting a little garden in the underworld. And one day she tries to go and get water for it because Hades didn't show her where to get water to water the her garden.
Oh,
and she's like,
don't water it with souls.
Ooh,
whatever you do.
convenient. A river. Cool.
Oh, God
so she goes up to this river, and luckily though, Hecate, is it Hecate?
Hecate is how I've always said it.
Hecates shows up and is like,
Hecate.
don't. That is the river Leth. It will literally make you forget everything.
Hey,
and she's
that
like,
one.
hey, thanks, friend. Appreciate that. And Hecate is like, I'm going to scold Hades later for not telling you that. And Persephone is like, hey, can I watch?
I thought Hecate would be like, I'm gonna punish Hades and also foreshadowing, poof, and then disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no. Hecate's in this is not. She's not my favorite character, but
That's sad because
I don't have
love
any
her
feelings
as
about
a
this
concept.
book. So Hecate's and Persephone become friends, and Hecate's explains that I live in the underworld. I have a little cottage down here that Hades has given to me. Yeah.
Can I disclaimer? These are all pronunciations that I have heard. I could be blatantly wrong. So please correct us. I would love to know the real way to do it, but I've always heard Hecate. So who knows?
And Hecate's also shows Persephone New Asphodel, which is a little town basically in the underworld where the dead live, and I guess it's supposed to be representative of the fields of Asphodel.
Yeah, that would
which
be
is like where just the mediocre souls basically go to spend eternity.
That would be my guess, but in OG Hades, like, that's the whole point. is that you don't do anything, you just stand there forever.
Yeah.
Like in nothingness. Why would there be a town? Okay.
Yeah, so
Whatever.
there's like a little town, and she gets to know all the people who live there and like shit like that, and they're like,
But
oh,
they don't
man.
remember anything. That's the point.
Oh man, we love you, Persephone. Hey, you know, Hades has been lonely for a long time, and he's actually a good guy.
Thank you, all of you dead shades that were supposed to have forgotten their entire mortal life.
Yeah.
Cool.
So then Hades shows up again, of course, and they're having a conversation where they're not really getting any information out of one another because the other one's like, I'm not telling you that. I'm not telling you that. And so Hades is finally like, how about we play a game? And you get to choose the game this time. And if you win, I'll give you an answer, vice versa.
Okay.
You know. And so they go back to his palace and she teaches him to play rock, paper, scissors.
I was hoping it would be like strip poker or something.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll get to that.
Hey!
Hey!
Called it.
So Persephone learns about Hades that by forcing mortals to destroy their vices, he's helping them. So like, yeah. Yeah.
That is not how this man has been portrayed this entire book. And I get that, you know, misconceptions and all that jazz, but like, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Seems like a lot of the it's
I guess I should articulate the reason that bothers me from like a literary perspective.
Yes.
You can have a character that is being perceived, you know, in a bad light when actually they're doing something noble and good and all that jazz.
Yes.
But it's that same thing where like it would have been neat if he'd done something clever. Like you have to show that he's actually doing that. Like it's like show him actually doing it and then take a step back and twist it and say, okay, if you looked at it from this perspective, this is what was happening.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Play with your perception. Don't just... It's just... This. I feel like a lot of this book is sort of falling back on... I mean, it's telling, not showing, right?
Right.
Like, there's
so much.
Yeah.
So much. And it's
like,
a lot of... it's a lot of not explaining things well either, because... I feel like the author didn't make it clear enough that Hades is the belief about Hades in this world is that he uses people's weaknesses to make him like subordinate or subservient to him, basically.
Yeah.
Like that's the original belief. And then by the end of the book, you're supposed to believe that he is actually making these deals with mortals because he believes that he can improve their lives somehow. Like, this deal is actually going to be a fresh start somehow for them, or like be a way for them. Like one of the big examples, I think I mentioned it before, is sobriety. Like he makes people make bets on their sobriety of like getting clean and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it's like he uses the thing that they want to motivate them to get sober. And it's like, you're not explaining that very well. And also, there's a lot of telling and not showing of him doing that, because the one example that you see of him actually like helping someone, it's not even this scenario that we've talked about earlier in the book. It's a scenario where a mother's daughter is dying. And so the mother goes to see Hades and begs for her life. And Hades is like, you know what? Yeah, I will save your daughter's life, but don't tell anyone I did this. Like,
that's not...
You're
that
not
show his character, I feel like.
No.
I mean, it shows he has a soft spot, but not like this whole entire thing that you're trying to say that he is.
You're right.
I think that another thing that sort of rubs me the wrong way with this is that, yes, that is a very noble pursuit in like helping people and everything, but it's also... It very much reads as... I guess I'm trying to figure out a good way to articulate this.
I know, right?
It's things like substance abuse and, you know, things like that aren't that simple.
No.
It's not just, oh, you want this thing, you have to be sober for X amount of time. That's not a sustainable way, and it rarely works. Like,
right. Well, and Persephone does tell Hades, she's like, addiction is a disease.
Yeah, like it's a process.
You could help people, like actually like rather than doing this betting system, like do something that's more effective at helping their lives so that they don't get into this scenario, period. So they're not forced to make deals with you.
Yeah, and I would argue even, like, I'm glad that they addressed that at least a little bit, but I would even say, like, I mean, the way that it seems like it's described is it's a you want this, stop cold turkey kind of situation.
Yes.
And that's not how addiction works. Like,
No.
you're going to be backsliding. Like, it's a process. And the most
Right.
important thing is that person has to really want to change.
Right.
Like, it can't just be, oh, I'm motivated because I want that thing, so I'm going to
Yeah.
give up this other thing. It's, no, I want to change this thing. And maybe that
Right.
thing can be a motive, like, you know, the thing you're betting against can be motivation for it, but you
Right.
still have to, like, I don't know, it feels like a very black and white view on a very complicated issue, perhaps.
Yep, almost like that, huh? So,
Yeah.
Remember now, Persephone is supposed to be writing an article about Hades, just sort of getting the whole scoop on these deals that he makes. Like, that is right now that's what the project that she's working on when she's not working on this secret garden, whatever.
Yeah, the conflict of interest.
Yes. The
project.
conflict of interest, project. Right. Unfortunately, Adonis is a complete tool, and
Who was
goes in-
surprised?
who was
Nobody?
su- Nobody.
Nobody?
Good.
Oh,
Good.
okay.
Glad to
Good.
hear.
Great.
Okay.
Awesome.
Silence in the crowd, and silence in New Asphodel, and he publishes the story under her name without her permission before it's finished, and adds edits to it.
What kind of journal is this? What kind of news organization
It's not though. Like,
allows their journalists
they
to
were-
take on
he
conflict
was-
of interest products and then also publishes shit without their yeah.
Well, he did it secretly because it was under her name. So he basically published it.
Yeah.
He pushed it out under her name and said, and which again, code of ethics. Like,
What is it?
No.
What is it?
What is it? Persephone also. So many problems could be solved in this book if Persephone just talked to someone and told them what
Oh.
actually happened.
You know
So-
that's my least
I
favorite.
know.
Oh, I hate that in a book.
Because Persephone doesn't tell her boss that this has happened.
You get that shit in writing.
Right.
You tell someone and you have it written down.
Right.
That's common sense, I feel like.
Right. She doesn't tell her boss, and her boss is like, hey, actually, that was a great article. We want you to write more. Can you write more about Hades, please? Please? Pretty please? And Hades, on one of her sojourns into the underworld, calls her out on this article because it's really negative about him.
Uh-huh.
And she, once again, does not tell Hades that this was published without her consent. And unfortunately, the draft that was published was one that was still really negative towards him, which shouldn't have been published anyway because it's
No.
supposed to be an unbiased report.
Yeah.
But also, it was published before, like, she finished, like, writing about this latest conversation, like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, not that she would write about that conversation, but, like, before that information entered her brain so that maybe she could have an almost clear thought about this man's.
I feel like we should also say, like, I get it. Opinions leak into journalism constantly.
Yes.
Totally get that. Also, there are such a thing as opinion pieces.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're in a potentially, like, starting a burgeoning relationship with the object of your opinion
yes.
piece,
Oh,
that
that's
is the
very
problem.
bad too. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't do most of these things you should not and cannot do
And
in
it
journalism.
sounds like it's trying to be portrayed as she's doing, like, a investigative journalism
Yes,
kind of
yes,
thing
yes.
about the underworld, and
Yes.
that's a big no-no.
Yes.
Yeah.
But don't worry. When Hades and Persephone talk that one time, Persephone again doesn't mention the fact that A, she didn't actually publish this article. She doesn't mention that anything about Adonis. And that B, it was at least halfway written by someone else. She doesn't mention either of those points.
Until humanity, or in this case gods, gains the ability to read other people's minds, you have to say something. You gotta say it.
You gotta say it. But she has some other priorities, Rachel. She's more upset with the fact that he got jealous the previous night when which I didn't mention because it's not that important to the plot, when Adonis forcibly kissed her at a nightclub.
There are so many things wrong in that sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to talk about it? Yeah, because so let me just put I should have put more context into my notes for this scene. I apologize. But she, the night that the article was written, they go to a different nightclub and they see Adonis there. Obviously, she doesn't want to, like, Persephone wants to have nothing to do with him. But she and Lexa, like, get handed free drinks from someone. They're, quote unquote, on the house or something like that.
Never accept free drinks.
Never
unless
accept
it's
free
from
drinks.
a bartender. And
Or a
even
friend.
Then, or even
Your
then.
girlfriend. Yeah, even then.
Yeah.
Don't do it. So,
unless you watched the bartender make it then hand it to you.
Yes.
Do not accept free drinks.
So she and Lexa are drugged.
Yeah.
Yep.
That sounds right.
Adonis tries to kiss her. Suddenly, magically, Hades is there and takes her out of the nightclub. They make out in his limo. He takes her back to his palace. Hades takes Persephone back to his palace. And she wakes up the next morning naked because, of, quote unquote, she insisted upon it.
Did they have sex?
No.
Did he know she was drugged?
Yes.
They
They didn't have sex. He just threw her. He put her in bed. He put her in his bed and then brooded in front of a fireplace.
Even the kissing.
I know. So that's where this scene comes in, where they're talking about this article, and then she's more upset with the fact that he got jealous last night when Adonis forcibly kissed her at a nightclub.
How would she even remember that? She was drugged.
Goddess powers.
Right. You know what? That if you want to see a scene like that done correctly, go read Lore Olympus. That scene feels
we'll get into that as well.
Cool. All right. In that case, I'll pause on it.
Yes. And the next thing that she's upset about is that he quote unquote cares and he won't admit it. Truly.
Bitch, you haven't admitted any of the things that have happened over the past, 3 days.
No.
Communication is a two-way street, my guy.
But he's a god. So then they make out while she's making, and then he disappears.
Okay.
Yeah. So life goes on, and then Persephone's boss gives her an invite to the Olympian Gala that he had gotten. He's like, here, you should go. I can't go, so you should go.
Okay.
And it's in the underworld. Woo!
Great and good. This is going to end well.
This is going to go awesome. But that same day, Minth stops by work, who Minth is in this world as well, is Hades' assistant. And says, listen, I want you to stay away from Hades. You are ruining his image. And you're a problem to him. And also he's attracted to you, and that's a problem for me.
This just so much feels like a Lore Olympus fanfic.
I'm glad that you said it.
Yeah.
A bad Lore Olympus fanfic. Listeners, go to Webtoons, read Lore Olympus. It is so good.
They've taken all the interesting stuff out of Hades, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, so, and you can tell me if this is true, but Minth also says to her, I want you to complete this bet that you have with him so that you can get out of his life. There is a spring in the mountains of the underworld called the Well in Reincarnation, and it will make anything grow.
I don't think so, but I'm going to double check this.
Do a Google. So Persephone goes to the gala, and Hades, who usually never makes an appearance at this gala, makes an appearance where Hades introduces the Halcyon Project, a rehab center for mortals. Did she inspire him?
Wow.
See, I'm not impressed. So Hades teleports Persephone back to the underworld, where guess what, Rachel?
They bone?
What do you think they play?
Strip poker?
Strip poker.
And then they bone?
And then they bone.
Hey.
So now they're boning and dating. And during this time, Adonis gets fired from New Athens News, actually, for mistreating Persephone.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Which should happen.
Yes.
But Adonis blackmails Persephone's with photos of her and Hades together boning, making out essentially.
Adonis, you're creepy as hell, dude.
Again, Persephone does not tell anyone about this to get help.
Now, in this case, I could see it. Like, it's blackmail, right? Like, that's a very stressful,
it's blackmail.
And you don't
That's
really know what
true.
to do. Like, that's a tough situation to be
That's true, but I feel like this also involves Hades. It's a picture of the both of them making out.
Yeah, she should tell Hades.
She should tell Hades.
Absolutely tell Hades.
Hades could make something happen. So, and then this is kind of that point in the book where a lot of things happen, but it doesn't matter what order they happen in. Yeah, montage. All right, so another montage part is Persephone has gotten really close to people in New Asphodel. And so there are actually souls in Elysium who have decided to be reborn. And so she decides, she's like, hey, why don't we throw a party for them? And Hades can come too, and it'll be really fun and adorable and cute. And they do that, and it is fun and adorable and cute. And basically, the citizens of New Asphodel make her their unofficial queen, and are like, "Get with Hades."
Okay, that's kind of cute.
It is kind of cute. I don't know. Hades actually comes and hangs out at her apartment with Lexa too, and Lexa's boyfriend. And it's Lexa's really cute with Hades though, because she immediately he walks in and he's like this big, scary, broody force, right? And she just gives him a hug. And it's like,
Aww.
thanks for making me my friend so happy.
Aw.
Which is very cute.
Aww,
She has no fear of Hades at all.
That's adorable.
And Persephone teaches Hades how to bake because she apparently loves baking.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And also what's been happening during this time is that Persephone is actually gaining powers. Just she's noticing little bits of magic.
It was love the whole time, wasn't it?
No.
Oh.
But close. Very close.
Okay. Was it? Oh, it was because she was a virgin, wasn't it?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe I can't guess the ending of this book.
So Persephone and Hades sleep in her apartment that night. They wake up the next morning and Demeter is just in the bedroom.
Mom!
Oh my god, you're embarrassing me in front of my boyfriend.
My boyfriend.
So Demeter strips Persephone of the magic she's given her and basically says, once your contract with the Hades is fulfilled, once you fulfill that, you're coming back with me. I'm taking you home with me. You are never going to see Hades again.
Ruh-roh.
Ruh-oh, skedio. So this is the point in the book where I empathize with Persephone's character the most. Because she doesn't have enough magic or power on her own to really be able to still create glamours to disguise herself and stuff like that. So now she's dependent on Hades' magic. So she's borrowing his magic. And she is in a really sad, tough situation because either she is going to succeed and create life in the underworld and she will be stuck with her mom forever. Her mom is literally just going to come and snatch her. Or B, she fails. She decides she's not going to create life in the underworld and then she belongs to Hades. So she doesn't really it's one or the other. And she's being blackmailed at the same time.
Right.
And what Adonis wants is his job back. He wants his job back at New Athens News, which is never going to happen.
She's an intern.
Yeah.
How is she going to do that?
Well, she talks to her boss and he's like, no. So she's also stuck there because she's like, then I'm going to lose my job as well because, I did bad journalism things, which you did do bad journalism things. You don't sleep with your subject.
No, you do not.
You don't sleep with your subject. Or you explain to someone, unfortunately, if you start having feelings for a subject, you have to explain that to your employer so that they can assign the article to someone else who is unbiased.
Hello, and welcome to Journalism 101. Rule number 1, we write words on paper and give it to people. Rule number 2, don't fuck your subject.
Well, rule number 3, tell the truth. And I think that's also under don't fuck your subject, because once you start fucking your subject, you're going to stop telling all the complete truth. It's just, it's inevitable. Humans are emotional. She's not even human. Gods are emotional too.
Yeah.
So, and then Aphrodite actually comes to New Athens News to speak with Persephone. And this is when the wheels really fall off.
Okay.
Because Aphrodite reveals that the very same night that Persephone had first met Hades, he had made a bet with Aphrodite that he could make someone fall in love with him in 6 months. You know how long?
Listeners, I am visually connecting strings on my corkboard in front of me.
They're not that hard to connect.
No.
No,
they're not.
No.
This is very contrived. Okay.
Yeah. And then literally like 45 minutes later at that same club, he sees Persephone and is like, convenient. I'm going to make her fall in love with me. And I'm going to entrap her in it. I just love the silence hanging there.
Okay. Do I sound defeated?
So defeated. So now Persephone is like, well, hashtag fuck all of this. And actually, she goes to the underworld and she tries to get water from that reincarnation well that does not exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And of course, she gets into some trouble with Tantalus, I think. He's there at the well.
Tantalus is chained to a tree. I don't think he would be a problem. Also, he's literally chained to a tree, and Tantalus' whole story is that he can't drink. Every time he's thirsty, he dips his head to drink water, and it drops down, so he can't have it. And every time he's hungry, he reaches up to get a fruit, and it dies, and he can't eat it.
Well, she feeds him and gives him water, or she at least gives him water.
You know, he killed his children and fed them to... Oh, I'm sorry. That's the dude that...
Is that Hercules?
No, that's the dude that becomes a werewolf, Lycan.
Oh.
Yeah, no, Tantalus also was a bad guy. There's a reason he's down there.
Right. Well, so don't worry. We never hear from Tantalus again. At least in this book. So Hades takes Persephone back to his palace and they talk, and Hades is like, yes, I had a deal with Aphrodite, but I didn't mean for that to have any effect on our relationship. Basically, he's saying, like, I'm in love with you. I don't care about the deal I made with Aphrodite. But to which I say, you didn't tell Persephone that either.
And also, like, you haven't built trust. All trust is gone.
Right.
Make is very difficult to build and very easy to break.
Yes.
You have broken it. Like, how is she gonna really, like, what have you given her to make her really believe that, no, I promise, I really do love you?
Oh, well, I'm gonna tell you.
Neat. Great and good.
Because he's like, I created this bet with you to make you a better person. He's like, you're your own prisoner. The challenge I gave you was to set you free and make you realize you had magic. And I did that by introducing you to the people of New Asphodel, who, guess what? They're your worshippers now, and so therefore you have confidence. The only reason that you are able to use your magic is because you now believe in yourself.
I hate it.
Okay.
I hate it.
Okay.
I hate it
so much. And he's like, none of the worshippers of New Asphodel don't even matter. You just had to believe in yourself. You're your own worst enemy and your own prisoner.
It was in you the whole time. And also, I want it to be known that I was right. Tantalus did kill his own son and try to feed it to Zeus to test his omnipotence.
Gross.
Yeah, it's not a good guy. Also, the fuck? Excusez-moi?
Yeah. Yep.
You don't... That...
So Persephone literally gets so angry.
Good! She should be!
Black vines come out of the ground, grab Hades, and wrap around him.
Good!
She's created life in the underworld.
Fuck.
So
still deserves it.
Well, and she's like, and so Hades like chuckles and is like, guess what? You win. And she leaves the underworld. So then she leaves the underworld. Persephone goes and sees Minth and Adonis and reveals her true form. And she turns Minth into a plant, which that's what happens in the story. And Adonis, she pretty much tortures for like a second and is like, if you fucking release that shit, I will destroy you. I am a goddess. Now you know. Get fucked.
I will say, love that her power is totally fueled by righteous anger.
Yes.
And I do enjoy that because
Yes.
it's deserved. All of
Yes.
those motherfuckers deserve it.
Right. Well, then she goes to a third party. She goes and visits her mother. And her mom is like, I'm so glad you're here. Like, because she visits her mother in the mortal world. I'm so glad you're here. We can, you've seen the error of your ways and you're ready to change. And she's like, no, Mom, fuck you. And so her mom had like envisioned Persephone being in this like literally a greenhouse, like this big old greenhouse, which is also very Lore Olympus-y.
Yeah.
And she destroyed, like Persephone just destroys everything. She's just like, fuck you. Fuck this. I'm out. And then she goes back to school, her life, the life that she's chosen for herself, and graduates and like does all of that. But she like, because it's that righteous anger thing, right? Like she creates her own freedom. And I think, but what I don't like about that is it's pretty much the prophecy that Hades told her, kind of, because it's he's in his perspective, he's probably like, well, I'm right, because she got her own freedom, she got it back for herself, like this was the right thing for her.
I don't like that she couldn't do that without a man.
Yeah.
Two, that it feels like she has no agency. Even though she's been given all of this agency, it was never her choice as to whether or not that was going to be given to her. Like, she's never given a choice in any of this.
Right. That's...
Literally ever.
And I think you could start at the very beginning of the story and fixing it and make it so that, like, the tattoo thing around her wrist, so that tattoo is now gone because she's not beholden to him anymore. But I think you could make it so that it's like, because she wants freedom so badly, you could use that as a more interesting bet. Almost.
Yeah.
I'm like, so that it's not because she's beholden to him because she left a game. It's because she genuinely wants to make a deal with him, because she's like, all right, I need some more autonomy in order to get what I truly want. So I'm going to make this deal with Hades, because if I make a deal with Hades, then at least I'm not beholden to my mother. I get to choose who I am beholden to.
Right. It feels very manipulative.
Yes.
Like,
it's all super manipulative.
Super manipulative. I mean, literally everybody is manipulative.
Right.
Which,
the only person
fair,
who isn't is Lexa.
Yeah. And to be fair, it's gods. So yeah. Fine. Great mythology is fucking buck wild, y'all.
Yes.
But still, that's... yeah, I don't love it. I really don't like it.
So, but she graduates, she started working at New Athens News, and one day, Hecates comes and visits her. And Hecates is like, hey girl, like, everyone in New Asphodel really misses you. And she's like, yeah, I miss them too, but it didn't feel right going back. And then, I shit you not, Rachel, pretty much what happens is that Hecates is like, but can't you forgive him? Because, like, doesn't matter how you fell in love if you guys still truly love each other. And then suddenly they're like in her apartment, and Persephone looks outside and Hades is just out there, like looking all sad and broody on the street corner. And Persephone's like, you right, bitch, you right. And then Hades and Persephone make up. And that's the end.
I've never understood the meaning of the phrase 1,000-yard stare until this exact moment.
Yeah, Rachel.
Did you see my gaze just go further and further into the distance as you said that?
Yeah, I know. I will say this, and this is not defending this book, but it might be an explanation of, I think there are other books in this series with these same two characters.
I'm guessing.
And so, like, maybe they get more into, like, the hurt and, like, how are we going to work through this kind of thing in follow-up books. But let's get into the reviewing part, because I am dying to talk about this book.
Yeah.
Like,
so this is really interesting because I went into it. I was kind of, like you said, I was kind of picking up on the fact that you didn't really love the book.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, I agree with you. And it's not me picking up on your stuff.
It's just not good. So here's the hottest take that I have on this book that I realized yesterday. I was reading about the mythology, and I was thinking and I was just like, wait a minute. This isn't a Hades and Persephone retelling.
No.
This is not those. So if let's put apart the side of who we interpret the character of Hades and Persephone to be, like, as people. Like, let's put away those character tropes, like, of what we perceive them to be. None of the themes of the original story of Hades and Persephone are really there. We don't have the cleft opening up in the earth and taking her down into the underworld with him. We don't have her eating the pomegranate seeds. We don't have her spending months out of the year partially with one parent or the other, and that spending time with either her mother or Hades, and that causing winter. We don't even really have her being a goddess of spring, because at the beginning of the book she doesn't have those powers.
Yeah.
So what makes this? Why are you claiming that this is and we don't have? And I don't really know what you would call the theme or the central, like, cautionary tale
I think
of Hades and Persephone.
Oh,
But it doesn't have that either.
I mean, it doesn't have one. The original story is about rape. Like,
Right,
he
yeah.
kidnaps her, rapes her, and then marries her against her will. Like, that's
Right.
the original story in a nutshell.
Right.
But
Unfortunately.
because Greeks were freaky, y'all. But even then, like, I feel like... So, here's my hot take. This book feels like it was Hades and Persephone. The title of that was slapped on it because of the popularity of things like Lore Olympus and the resurrection of that myth and the changing of it into something that is a little bit more like modern and more, you know, feminist or whatever, or like a love story, an actual love story.
Yes.
The actual like core theme of this novel goes way past Hades and Persephone. It's just make a deal with the devil. That's the entire premise of this book. It doesn't matter. You could rename those characters anything, which again is partly why I don't like people like taking the actual names unless they're truly retelling the story. Maybe with some twists are fine, but unless they're really retelling it, I don't really love it when people take the names of the original characters, because they do things like this where it's so different, where you're like, that's not a retelling of
it's not
the book.
it's not telling the story of the book. And and then let's get into the next part that I really don't like about it, is that I do feel like it's just a Lore Olympus fanfic.
Yeah, it pretty
much
much is.
I like, really
Lore Olympus is great.
It's
Don't get me wrong.
It's so good.
And I guess I also kind of want to justify that, back that up a little bit to say that it's not just that, like, oh, well, anything that's Hades and Persephone would be a Lore Olympus fic because it's so popular or whatever. No, there are very specific scenes in this book.
Well, so especially the relationship between Demeter and Persephone in this book is so pulled from Lore Olympus. They have like so many scenes that are the same feeling of Persephone feeling like she's being smothered by her mother and this role that her mother has created for her. And that exact thing is happening in A Touch of Darkness.
Well, and even like very specific, like her getting drugged at a nightclub and being in his car. Like, that's a really big one. Or the one where, there was another scene that, the stuff with Adonis. Yeah, replace that with...
yes!
Yeah.
What's that loser's name?
Yeah,
it starts with an A too.
Apollo. Yeah, replace him with Apollo, and there's that whole.
It's pretty much the same thing. She's
in
university.
She's in university. Like, it's too.
She has a roommate. Like, it's
it's too similar,
right,
in a lot of ways.
And I wish that I had done research on. I'm sure that someone else has made those same.
She has an internship that's in the underworld.
Right.
It's
her internship is not technically in the underworld.
No, but she ends up in an internship.
But she has
an
internship. Yeah.
In the underworld. Like, she goes to the underworld with her internship. Like, there's just too many similarities for it to be.
I would also argue that Lore Olympus's Hades is so much more wonderful.
Oh, he's so much better because
so soft.
Because we love a broody character, but you can have a broody character that you can still empathize with. And this guy you can't empathize with at all.
Cannot.
I mean, pretty much everything he does is just manipulate people into what he thinks is good for them, which is not a good person.
Including Persephone.
Yeah, including her.
Including the love of his life up here, or the love of his whatever.
Supposedly. Yeah. Which none of us can truly believe because, one, it was based off of yet another bet, and two, like... he manipulated her the whole time. So how do you even know?
So, okay, let's get into, I'm going to rate it, like give it number ratings. I would give it the plot first, right?
Yes. No, sorry, characters first.
Okay, characters first. Hades, I would give like a 1. I think that we have seen broody characters like him before, and especially done better.
Yes.
And also, he is a copy paste of those characters, but it's like the Doodle Bob. Exactly.
I don't have very many impressions, but for some reason I can do Doodle Bob very well.
Yes. So Hades is Doodle Hades, and
Doodle
Hades. So we have Doodle Hades. He gets a 1. Persephone, I'm gonna give a 2. Only because the book was written from her perspective. So we knew a little bit more about her character as opposed to Hades, which what I know about Hades are 3 things. Number 1, he's broody. Number 2, he likes to brood in front of a fireplace with a glass of whiskey in his hand. And number 3, he's hot for Persephone. That's all I got.
Can I just throw it out there and say I got Christian Grey vibes from him?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
And honestly from their relationship too.
Yeah. And also our girl is journalism.
Yeah, very manipulative.
Books. Yep. And then the plot, right?
Yeah.
The plot I'm going to give, it's hard to put a number on it, so I'm just going to talk it out and then we can talk about a number. But so the issues I have, number 1, it just wasn't well written. Let's say it wasn't Hades and Persephone retelling. Let's say it wasn't called that. It was called something completely different. It still would not be a good story. I would argue. But the problem is that even having that, they're claiming that it's a Hades and Persephone retelling when it's really not. So that wants me to give it even a lower score. So I guess because it technically has a plot, it gets a 1. But
yeah, I mean, I think that it's hard. You're right. It's very hard to put a number on that one. It's just so similar to Lore Olympus in so many ways.
I know. It's really
bad. It's a bad version of Lore Olympus.
Okay. The first thing that when you do Lore Olympus and A Touch of Darkness that comes up, that's what comes up is you do Lore Olympus and A Touch of, and then it just refills with A Touch of Darkness.
Yeah.
But there isn't really.
I mean, it was fine. I don't think it was anything special, and I also think we've seen worse.
Yeah, for sure.
I would be taking out everything. I would be more inclined to give it a slightly higher rating, like give it a 2, just because it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
Not.
Well, I will also say this: the writing was not good. The writing, the prose was not good. But let's keep it at a 2 because I think that's fair.
Smut.
Huh?
Smut.
Oh. It wasn't that good because I can't remember it that well. We'll go over it.
Wow. Okay. 2, I guess.
2. Overall, 2.
Hot takes, baby.
Hot takes. I do. Well, and it is a hot take though because the book is so freaking popular.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's tough when, and I guess we should also probably put a huge disclaimer on this episode, and I'll put it at the beginning. Like, these are our opinions.
Yes.
And I think that because we're bad journalists, because we have to be, of course our opinions are going to color what we talk about. Like, we can't read a book impartially because we're reading the book. But I think that I feel like you and I do a relatively good job of justifying our opinions.
Yes.
Like we say, yeah, I mean, like we say, like, oh, we didn't like this, but then we have to go on and say, okay, but this is why.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing to me is because, like, we're allowed to not like something that everyone else likes, but we have to be able to back it up. Like, we can't just, we just can't be contrarian little shits. There has to be a reason.
Oh man.
I know. As a true, deep-seated contrarian little shit, it bugs me to no end that I'm not allowed to just be that.
Yeah.
But I feel like we do a pretty good job of doing that. Honestly, like, I don't know. I try really hard to, like, even when I'm speechless, try to come up with something to say of this is why I'm speechless.
It was really hard for this book, though, because there were a lot of scenes where it's so abundantly clear that something is wrong and this is not good. And you feel like because of that, you're almost like, do we have to say anything else? Like, this is already clear enough, right? That he's like manipulating her and
Yeah.
being all heavy-handed.
And I feel like the issue is that we've read so many books that do this thing well.
Yes.
This can be done so well.
Wow.
And so I find it frustrating when like something that's, you know, maybe doesn't have very good prose or is super like kind of like side-eye, which don't get me wrong, we love a problematic relationship every once in a while. It's a guilty pleasure. It's fine. It's cool. It's great. It has to be done well though. And this is not.
This is not done well at all. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So there we go.
Yeah, you're allowed to have a problematic fave, but
Yep.
at least write it well.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah,
and I would, to be devil's advocate about the whole Lore Olympus thing too, I would argue that a lot of the reasons why, though, the reasons why we said this wasn't a Hades and Persephone retelling, you could argue some of those same things for Lore Olympus.
Oh, absolutely.
But
difference is-
also Lore Olympus is good.
Yeah, it's done well.
Yeah, it's done well. So like
done well.
I'm more okay and buy it and
Mm-hmm.
you know, willing to get behind it as opposed to this one where I'm like, but it's also just bad. Yeah. Like it would be different if you got your mythology right. Like it literally also took you like 3 seconds to look up that the Well of Reincarnation doesn't exist.
I mean, it might. I just couldn't find it at a cursory Google search.
Right.
Yeah. I imagine we will be put on blast for this, and I'm not upset about that.
No. Yeah, well, we're gonna get blasted for this one. No regrets.
No regrets. But I will say, like, I want to hear your opinions. I do. What I don't want to hear is people screaming into the void that, well, you're wrong because you're wrong. No, I'd like to have a discussion about it.
Yeah,
so
let's talk about it.
Hopefully people will actually talk about it.
Right.
I mean, I haven't read the book, so who knows?
Who knows? All right.
Well, that was so interesting.
Yeah.
I like doing topical things. It's fun.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks
And
for
thank you,
tuning in.
Ayla Neriu, for the use of her song Oh Love off the album Beheld. It's a bop. We love it. Slaps.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else. Thank you all so much. We love you.
We love you. Bye.